in conjunction with our good friend Bill Steidler over at the Fantasy Flight Game Center every month. We just did a show on April 1st, last Friday, and we are going to be doing a show again in May. I believe it's May 13th. I think it's Friday the 13th that we're going to do a show. Is that right? Is that right? I'll look at my calendar and just confirm that when we move on a little bit. Now, so PowerPoint Karaoke is a show we've been doing for a while. It's a show that I really enjoy. What's going to happen, we've got 4 presenters that are going to come up on here on stage. They are going to give a presentation that they have never seen before and that makes absolutely no sense. And so their job is to make some logical sense of the slides that you're going to see flashed in front of you. And there are going to be some people sitting in judgment on those 4 people. So before I introduce to you our 4 fabulous presenters, I want to introduce to you our 2 far more fabulous judges. So ladies and gentlemen, our first judge here this evening, you've seen him earlier this evening. He did some fabulous stand-up comedy. Let's hear it for Ben Sandell! Ben, we have 2 microphones over here for our judges and 1 chair. Oh, never mind. I guess our second judge will bring up a chair. No, you don't have to just have a seat, pull up a microphone. And our second judge this evening, you've seen him this evening. You've loved him this evening. I hope you'll love him some more because there's a lot of him to love. Let's hear it for Nick Glover. We'll bring over a chair for you, Nick. There you go. So did we have an order determined, Melissa? I'm just going to ask before. Okay, good to know. So before we begin, I'd like to check with our 2 judges and just see if either one of you have anything you'd like to plug before we begin. So Ben, what are you up to? What are you doing? What can these folks see you do?
I'll be doing 5/5 of The Fringe, 5/5 of Titanic on May 9th at the Illusion Theater, and then a show called Apple Picking at the Fringe Festival.
All right. That sounds great. Nick, what do you have going on?
Next weekend, April 16th, Saturday, at the Bryant Lake Bowl, a podcast that Tim and Molly and I host called Geeks Without God. We'll be doing a live recording of our 200th episode. We haven't missed a single episode since we started, up every Tuesday, and we're going to record our 200th episode live with guests Barb Abney and Jeremy Messersmith. Woo. And we got a bunch of surprise guests and other little secret fun stuff coming up. So look forward to it. Tickets are really cheap. If you've got the evening free, come out to the Brighton Lake Bowl.
Yeah. So that sounds really great. Let's take a look at the rules for PowerPoint Karaoke. Each contestant will be given 12 slides and a summary slide and 6 minutes to complete the presentation. Our judges will be giving up to 5 points in each of the following categories for a maximum of 25 points. First, content and credibility is what they're saying. Does it make sense given the presentation topic they give us? Poise and gestures. Do they just stand there or do they look confused? Or do they seem to know what they're talking about? Flow. Are they able to make the presentation flow from one slide to the next? Audience response. That's obviously your job. And then, of course, getting through all the slides. So I would like to bring up the folks we have tonight are all PowerPoint Karaoke veterans. Many of them, I think at least 2 are champions, past champions, and this is one of them. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Dawn Krasnowski. There she is. Dawn, how are you today?
I am caped and ready to go.
So, do you have anything you'd like to plug before you do your presentation?
Why, yes, Tim. It'd be the show you wrote, Schrodinger's Apocalypse at Bryant Lake Bowl, coming up in June.
That's great, except it's not actually written yet. So it's okay, though. The read-through's not until the 18th, so I'm fine.
19th. You earned yourself a day.
Yes! I've got one more day. Dawn, what is your topic this evening?
My topic is how to survive a 50-hour comedy marathon without dying.
Very relevant. All right. How to survive a 50-hour comedy marathon without dying. Ladies and gentlemen, take it away, Dawn.
Thank you. I'm so happy you're joining me today. Not everyone has the opportunity to do a 50-hour comedy marathon without dying. So this is my third one. Let me tell you how it's done. The obviousness of surviving a 50-hour comedy marathon without dying is grasping everything in both hands, regardless of how much it might burn or frighten you. Be the purple giant who takes control of everything around you. Next slide. You know, there's so many people who say, are you personality A, personality B? Are you an Myers-Briggs, ENFP, or are you an ENFJ? You know, I say, don't even think about those concepts. I say, go for option J, junk food. This is what's gonna help you through the entire 50 hours. Be the tiny kitty cat who's going to devour every virgin in front of you, and you will survive. Let's go. Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah. Pro tip, con tip, be a badass with a good ass. The important part about doing a 50-hour marathon is make sure you get all your workouts done before you actually enter the 50 hours. Let me tell you how much I worked out. Twice. And that has given me the endurance I need to make this super awesome. Now, there's a lot of misandry and like hashtag misandry about doing a 50-hour marathon. And some people say the protection from fire is about standing on a bat while being a frog, holding Where's Waldo's hat. You know, I say 5-hour energy drinks. Berry flavored. So there's ways to make sure you keep yourself going. One would say firearms to the head. Another would say hamsters in your pocket. I would say firearms loaded with hamsters is super threatening, and you'll stay awake because you don't want to go there, because that's what I did my first year anyways. Next slide. Now, relocation is truly made simple because you want to make the place where you're doing your 50-hour marathon your home. You want to consider it the place where you can live and breathe and be safe. Now, at that same time, don't bring the reptile into your safe place. As everyone knows, reptiles are dicks. They're cold-blooded. They eat really cute things like mice, and you just don't want to screw around with them. Leave the reptile at home and make the place where you're performing your new home. And of course, last but not least, you gotta remember that we're doing a 50-hour comedy marathon in order to make money. So follow the money, whether it's eating those disgusting cake pops, whether it's being beaten in the ass by someone that you thought was your friend. And you gotta think about where that money comes from. It was like, I thought you were my bud, and now you're making me eat this horrible thing or getting beaten. I mean, follow the money. Know that what we're doing is supporting Fearless Comedy Productions, because that's what it's all about. Supporting an organization that supports other people while running them over. Okay, so let's think about what happens at 2 a.m. Because at approximately like 2 a.m., you start to hallucinate. And you're gonna like have conversations with furries. Because I know this happened to me last year. There were so many animals last year at the Fearless Comedy Production 50-hour marathon that there was like lions and tigers and bears. I'm not kidding. I swear I saw them. How many people here thought they saw them too? Yeah, everybody here thought they saw those crazy-ass animals too. So you have to recognize at around 2 a.m. is the witching hour. So be careful, watch what's happening, and make sure the animals don't overrun you. And then sometimes you have to count the box office if you're actually volunteering for that, and that actually feels like new math. So what you have to do is you have to have your goal in sight, screw everybody else, and make sure you succeed. Because this is not the only 50-hour comedy marathon going on right now. Oh no, it's not. There's like some others. So you gotta make sure that Fearless Comedy Production stays first and foremost in your mind and destroy all competition with the power of math and velocity. And in a comedy marathon, you essentially do what you got to do in order to make money. And I'm honestly surprised that in their third year, we don't have the bathtub competition yet. And now I'm sorry I said it, because I'm sure next year we're gonna. So you kind of basically have to say, you know what, I'm gonna sell my soul, I'm gonna sell my dignity, I'm gonna sell oh yeah, that's right, I'm an actor, I've already sold all those things. And now I'm gonna make money anyway. Oh yeah, that's right, I'm an actor. So yeah, I'm gonna make money any possible way I can. If you wanna call me Sailor, make sure that's a capital S. In summary, you know, it really sucks to do a 50-hour comedy marathon. And you gotta walk in knowing it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck a lot, and it's gonna suck hard, and it is gonna continue to suck no matter how much you want to forgive yourself a week from now. So just go in knowing, you know what? There is a heavily tanned hand with a really sadly shaped knife vacuum thing, and apparently it feels good, or it makes you want to hate yourself as a chameleon, because essentially that's what all actors are, chameleons. So let's enjoy the background, let's suck up the earth, let's understand this is what we gotta do in order to work. Again, this is how you survive a 50-hour comedy marathon. Thank you so much for listening.
Very well done, Don. Very well done. I enjoyed it, but of course, what I think doesn't matter. What the judges think matter. Judges, what are your thoughts on Don's presentation?
Is there a scale of points?
Yeah, I explained it at the beginning.
5 categories, 5 points
Yes,
each.
I get
5
the
points
most.
each. All right, I missed
Yeah,
that.
most points.
I've been drinking. Okay.
Most points, yes.
You just want most points? That's
See,
the scale?
that's the goal,
Okay.
to win with the
Okay.
most points.
Okay. Well, good with the poise, with the cape.
Mm.
You can't get a perfect score because you didn't bring a fan on stage to blow it back throughout the performance.
This is only a comedy marathon. I mean, we don't have a budget for fans.
If we spend money on
If
fans,
you
we
committed
would-
hard enough.
Our fans are our budget.
Ooh.
That's well said.
I think that it was very brave, and your bravery should be applauded by the audience for you to talk about misandry with Tim right here on the stage.
I know. Technically, this is my boss, so
Well,
yeah.
you know. And I think that the bathtub competition is during the witching hour, which is, I think it's at midnight, not 2 a.m., but maybe it's one of those like daylight savings long hour things, and
It could
goes
be Eastern time.
Until,
I mean,
well, it
who
could be
knows?
Eastern
Who
time.
knows?
Sure, then it'd be 1, but
Because I'm
well,
sure
close
someone in
enough.
Eastern time is watching
Yeah.
this.
And I think the only thing you forgot was another thing that actors sell is plasma. So, yeah. But I mean, I think that, there are a lot of things that I am looking forward to destroying with the power of math.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, judges. Let's hear it once again for Don. All right, folks. We're going to move right on to our second presenter, who is. Yeah, I was thinking he was standing right over there, so I was hoping that was a hint as to who is second. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Mr. Bill Steidler. Bill, welcome to our stage this evening. Do you have anything that you would like to plug?
Yeah, I'm directing a show by Tim's called Schrodinger Apocalypse. I've read the script. It's fantastic. Everybody needs to come and see it. We also do PowerPoint karaoke at the Fantasy Flights Game Center. I've read the script for that, and it's good too. That's all I got.
And the next one's going to be, I did double check, it is going to be the 13th of May. It's going to be Friday the 13th. It's going to be a very, and we're going to have an opening act for the Encyclopedia show.
Yes. And the theme is Australia, because what's scarier than Australians?
I don't know, but perhaps we'll find out. What's your presentation, Bill?
My presentation topic is, I've summoned you all here because I'm prepared to name the murderer.
Take it away.
Please remain in your seats. The doors have been sealed. Now, many of you questioned my ability to take on this case. In fact, the police insisted I not do it based on my complete lack of qualifications and jurisdiction. I was told that this is apparently a crime called interfering with police evidence, and that this is my only chance to escape jail time myself. But I felt that the murder of Sir Reginald needed to be solved. Let us begin at the beginning with the strange circumstances of his death. First slide, please. He was a man of peculiar habits. I don't think anyone will disavow that. He was a British peer, and we have to respect the fact that after his time on the subcontinent, he preferred to spend his afternoons napping, dressed entirely as a squirrel in the sun. Yet, this evening, something was different. When we went to wake him, of course, his butler was dressed in the bear suit. He did not wake up. Initially, we thought, his time has passed. Then our thoughts leapt to poison. Later, we learned the truth. Next slide. He had been hit by a train. Even more curious, it seemed to have happened on the middle of his palatial grounds, where there are no trains nearby. Yet upon closer inspection of his corpse, we found two strange, deep grooves running approximately 3 feet apart on his body. Also, there was that big fucking train that was right next to him. His nephew declared it a suicide. I was not so sure. Looking into the family will, I discovered an interesting discrepancy. Next slide. We thought that the family money came from gold mining, but no. It turned out there were 3 sources of income for the family. One, of course, the gluten mines in India, which everyone was familiar with. Second, nihilism, which came from a strange American source I have not yet been able to identify. And finally, boob sweat, which, well, I mean, that came from the Cockneys, and I mean, that's obvious where that came from. But he was able to synthesize these into a third element. An element that proved essential for the defense of the realm. And what was that purpose? Next slide. It led all the way to the royal family. Obviously, I've been able to clear His Majesty of any involvement whatsoever. He was in London murdering prostitutes at the time. So he has an alibi. But, lest we forget what happened during His Majesty's visit to the house right before the murder. Next slide. That's right. Tyrannical corporations, first of all, the royal family itself, I mean, let's be honest, were on the rise following the acclamation of the boob sweat, the nihilism, and the gluten. But then something very evil began to happen. Dentistry was introduced to England. An attack on the very basic values of our nation. Suddenly, this case of murder by train began to take a dark turn. And I felt that my life was no longer safe. What roused my suspicions this time? Next slide. You recognize this man, don't you? That's right. Santa Claus, the most feared assassin ever hired by the French. He tried to hide himself in a crowd, but once that famous French polka started playing, he simply couldn't contain himself. I managed to draw himself and led him into a clever trap. Next slide. Okay, so what was supposed to happen was the crow was supposed to fly off and strike him in the head. That part didn't work out. I had to make this plan together rather quickly. Yeah, so Jeremy, go, Jeremy. Okay, we're gonna come back to that. Santa Claus. So Santa Claus is murdering me in an attempt to frame the royal family. I think you're all going to agree that my line of logic is perfectly flawless at this point. And yet, I was curious how the train could have possibly been delivered. And it turned out the train was not, in fact, the murder weapon. The murder weapon was, next slide. A series of gifts. Sir Reginald was exposed to so many adorable animal gifts at once that they vectored into his eye and caused his brain to die in what some may call acute overload. Thank you. But still, this did not point me towards the murderer. I began to list through the suspects. I had to eliminate them one by one. One clue that caused me to eliminate the prime suspect, Lady Reginald, was in fact, next slide. That's right. At the time, she was flubing her boobs for the boob sweat to cause the crucial component combined with the nihilism and the gluten to power the crucial element for the empire, which of course is used in the ultimate weapon for the defense of the realm, which is, next slide, a big honking tiger with a butterfly on the nose. Because, no, you didn't notice the tiger, did you? You didn't see the gigantic cat. You were focused on the butterfly. That's what they were developing. That's the secret weapon. That's what they were trying to do. That's what they were trying to protect. After eliminating every single possible suspect, I determined that this murder could have only been committed by me. Shit, I should have stopped right before then.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Steidler. Judges, what did you think about that highly informative and energetic presentation?
Well, first of all, great, but 1 point off for no cape. So that's the thing now. So
I am not wearing it where you can see it.
Oh, all right, okay.
I added a point for saying GIF correctly to content and credibility. I think that it's an interesting fact that a lot of people don't know is the death of Sir Reginald by animated GIF is actually the premise to Snow Crash.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. And I was curious what the first two elements were. You had said boob sweat, gluten, and nihilism form a third element. Mm-hmm. What are the first two?
I'm sorry, can you unpack that one for me, Grandpa?
You said that gluten and nihilism and boob sweat together formed a third element. What were the first two? I just, for my own
he got you in a
Oh,
trap.
I'm sorry. Of course, if you have not seen the movie,
No.
The first two elements are earth and panties.
Okay.
Hang on. Thank you. I appreciate
I
that.
do have to give you a point for tying the two boobs together from the one side to the other.
All right, let's keep our personal life out of this, shall we?
And also, at one point, an audience member said, "The fuck?" And you said, "That's right," which is correct. So 1 point for that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Mr. Bill Steidler. Well done. Well done, ladies and gentlemen. But we have two more presenters. Anything can happen. In fact, I could find out who the next presenter is. It is...
The funny thing is, I was told it was Nick.
not Nick. It is Duck Washington, ladies and gentlemen. Duck Washington. Let's hear it for Duck Washington. Here he is. Duck, do you have anything you would like to plug?
Oh, yeah. I would like to plug my Fringe show that Fearless is producing. It's a show we produced in the fall that did really well. It's called Caucasian Aggressive Pandas and Other Mulatto Tales, and it's all kind of based on my experiences growing up multiracial. But it's funny, and they're like panda bears that hate white people and all kinds of fun stuff.
See, the panda bears eating white people doesn't sound fun to me. Anyway,
It sounds like a blast.
I bet it does. Duck, what is your topic?
In that realm, I think we'll go with how to eat watermelon in one company and not feel ashamed about it.
All right, take it away.
So, I'm trying to get a good look at the room here. Do I have any other chocolate chips in this cookie besides myself? All right, that's what I thought. So me as a black person sometimes finds myself in stressful situations that other people might not. Like I'm at an office party and somebody asks me what I want to bring, and I know I really want to stop at Popeye's fried chicken and bring that because Popeye's is on my mind. But at the same time, I know that if I bring Popeye's to that luncheon, they're going to be like, "Oh, the black guy brought Popeye's fried chicken in here." But but there's ways to get around that stress I've found in my life. Please go to the first slide. All right. So one of the things to think about is why we work. Are you working to satisfy the pale office that you're in? Are you trying to work yourself into a frenzy to the point where you just might explode because you're worried about eating fried chicken in front of them or watermelon or smoking menthol cigarettes or any of that stuff? No, you don't want to do any of that. So instead, you just kind of embrace your inner self and move forward. Next slide. All right. So one thing to think about if somebody's really getting in your face and you see that little snide remark is to remember that that there are just some slides that you just can't overcome. You're not gonna change their opinion talking to them, and so you just gotta bat them the fuck across the face. That's what you do. If you do that in your work environment, they will pretty soon know that when you bring Popeye's chicken in, they ain't allowed to say shit. Next slide. All right, so now follow this with me if you can. All right, so one way to keep people from saying, "Oh, typical black guy," is to get into some really weird shit. All right, because if you're on like an opposite spectrum that has absolutely nothing to do with African American culture, like say wearing like a really awkward pill bottle shaped vessel that's being bitten onto by a golden toad, if you show up to work like that one day, they're not going to go, "Oh, typical black guy." Even if you're eating fried chicken out of a watermelon, they're not going to go, "Oh, typical black guy." Next slide. All right, so one thing to keep in mind is, hairstyles. There are a lot of African American hairstyles. A lot of us like to sport our hair a little bit like that guy on that Ancient Alien show. But if you just take it back a step and you go to more of the Elvis look, you start to get away from that typical black guy look. If you even go any farther back, you can get that Flock of Seagulls look. And if you go to work wearing Flock of Seagulls, they're not going to talk about the fact that you're drinking grape soda. They're not going to talk about it. That's just not what they're going to do. They're going to go, "Oh my God, he's dressed like he's in Flock of Seagulls. And so you get to decide which is better. Flock of Seagulls are them thinking, that you're black, which isn't anything to be ashamed of. So next slide. All right, so let's vote on it. All right. I want you to think about wearing masks. A lot of time, as a person of color, you put on a lot of masks to showcase different aspects of who you are, because people will get afraid if they find out that you're not lily white. And so you have to think about what that mask is going to be. Is it going to be a really, really dark, like, yeah, I am a little girl in the field, but I'm dark and I'm here in the office, and you're going to deal with it? Or are you going to put on some kind of different mask, like it's Halloween, But sometimes that can be a little awkward, because pumpkin-headed people, like I've seen Sleepy Hollow, pumpkin-headed people don't really have a head, and that's some deep intrinsic shit that you got to deal with on some kind of a level. But both of those masks might help you survive in your office place. Next slide. No, thank you. Next slide. Right sizing. All right, so in a lot of aspects, people of different ethnic backgrounds can be different sized in different areas, if you know what I'm saying. And sometimes you might get that coworker, that woman down the hall who's like, hey, I wonder what that black guy down the hall is carrying in his pants. Well, that's a good stereotype to have follow you around. So I say, just embrace that one. Next slide. Yeah, because if you do, then you're getting the hot stuff. Then she's throwing down on you on the back copier, and it's just like, oh yeah. I mean, depending on how pretty she is, you might consider a little minstrelin, I guess. But that wouldn't be the route I would take. Next slide. Yeah. Global Clouds and the Sexmatist. The Sexmatist was James Brown's 5th album. The Sexmatist is the perfect thing to play when you're doing it on the copier. When you're doing the nasty on the copier, if you play the Sexmatist, global clouds will open and the rays of sexual heaven will glisten upon you, and it will be awesome. And she will never go, oh, typical black guy. She'll go, hell yeah, black guy. Next slide, please. All right. So I want you to think about the way that artisanal toilet paper and hemorrhoids interact with each other. Because sometimes, fried chicken doesn't do really good things to your system. And people might question, what happens in the bathroom. So if that's going to be an issue, maybe you don't want to go the fried chicken route, because, artisanal toilet paper is not the sturdy stuff that's going to get the fried chicken out of there. You know what I'm saying? And if that stuff just builds up, you're going to get some hemorrhoids. So some circumstances, there are other reasons to say no to the fried chicken. Next slide. All right, so this is how you get to Paradise City. You sit down and you decide who you want to be. You decide what you think other people should be thinking of you. And you come to the realization that you just can't give a fuck about what everybody else wants to think, and that you just need to be yourself. You want to eat that watermelon, eat that watermelon. If you want to eat that Popeye's fried chicken, eat that Popeye's fried chicken. If you want to have sex on the copy machine with the white girl down the hall while you listen to a James Brown album, well, that's just what you need to do. If you do that, you'll have a much happier life, and I really encourage you to embrace this part of yourself and find your happiness. Thank you.
Well done, Duck. Well done. No, Duck, a couple of white guys need to sit in judgment on you now. So,
That's right, Doc.
No pressure, judges. So, Ben and Nick, what did you think of Duck's presentation?
You were all ready to go, and then I said something.
I go for it.
I do have to give you a point for talking about a very delicate subject, race, without making a white audience uncomfortable. However, I do enjoy when white audiences are uncomfortable, so -1 point for that.
I think to one of your first points, I think the only thing you can say when to someone who brings in Popeyes is thank you. Thank you for the Popeyes.
That's the way it should be, but it's not always the way.
It's the only thing you can say. Or I mean, if you're an asshole, you can be like, I don't eat fried chicken. You know, I mean, but really, still, thank you for the effort. Then is what you're thanking them for. Yeah.
And really, Popeye's inside watermelon, I would be so happy if somebody showed up with that.
I would do that.
It's the African American
I'd hit
turducken.
that.
I'm. It should be at Thanksgiving every year at every table.
Well done.
I just wanted to say, on behalf of, quote, pumpkin-headed people, we prefer the term obese Americans. Just for future reference, you know.
My mistake.
Yeah. And Sexmatist is not only the best James Brown album to listen to when doing it with the white girl down the hall on the copier, it's the best James Brown album for doing it, period. Like, you put in Sexmatist, and everyone's good to go.
Although I do have to say that if you listen to James Brown's Funky Christmas while having sex in Santa's chair at the mall, it's way more appropriate.
If you do that with a Jewish girl, she actually starts on fire.
And that's hot.
All right, let's hear it for Duck, ladies and gentlemen. Well done. Well done. All right. Now, before we do the last performer this evening, our last presenter, I have to point out, I wasn't mentioned at the top of the hour, we do have a $500 matching grant from Convergence Events going on right now, which means if we raise $500 before the end of PowerPoint Karaoke, it gets matched dollar for dollar. So instead of being a $500 hour, it's a $1,000 hour. So that's a good deal. So if you're like watching at home and you're like, I got to give some money to this Fearless Comedy thing, when's that a good time? Now is a good time. Or right now is the best time to give us money, because if you give us money, it's going to double. So with that said, I'm going to bring up our final presenter, another past PowerPoint Karaoke champion. Let's hear it for Molly Glover. Hello, Molly. Do you have anything that you'd like to plug for us today?
I do, actually. I'm going to be in Eric Thompson's Fringe show, The Improv Voice, which will be during the Fringe Festival. Ta-da!
Ta-da! All right, and what's your presentation topic today?
Choosing your safe word.
Choosing your safe word. Please take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming down to my dungeon. We're all going to choose your safe word today. Let's get started. First slide. Now, there are 3 main points to remember when you're trying to choose your safe word. Number 1, what's its function? Why are you choosing a safe word? What are you worried about? What could happen? It's exciting. Number 2, make sure it's a word you don't normally say during sex. I once made the mistake of making my safe word dachshund, but then we had a dachshund, and I was like, get that dachshund off the bed, and all the fun stopped. So you really just want to make sure it's a word you would never say. Wait, no. It's a word you would never say. Exciting. All right. Number 3, the most third and important part is you want to make sure that you don't use the word fire. The word fire should not be your safe word in case there's a fire. I know this sounds really obvious, but thousands of us die every year in safe word related dungeon accidents. So next slide. It's important to make sure that your safe word can be understood. Now, if your safe word is a commonly misheard homophone, you might say one thing and it turns out it's the other. Now, like for example, I have a friend, Rebecca, and her safe word was insects. Insects. Like bugs, right? Yeah. And then she was like, I love it when you do it to me in sex. And just, it was over. So really, no homophones. Make a really unique word. Next slide. there are times when you'll find a safe word is more necessary than ever. And I'll tell you, you'd think that it's the screen section, all of the above. And yes, that's a good place for your general all-purpose safe word. Now, when you're at a place like the Renaissance Festival, you're going to want to make sure that your safe word is themed. So maybe chainmail or, fealty or dirt hole. Whatever makes you think of the Renaissance Festival. When you want to have alcohol, it's important that you both pre-set a safe word before drinking, because drinking will make the safe word fly out of your pretty little head like it does mine. And then the next thing you know, you're tied up and stuck, no credit cards, and he's gone. Finally, everyone wants to make sure that you're taking dares. I mean, that's what we're all into, right? We're in my dungeon. But you don't want to be too daring with your safe word. Don't make it something like a Pap-O-Matics or like cuckoo clock or something crazy that you won't remember how to pronounce. And then your dom doesn't even know if you said it. Dare to be simple. Dare with your sexuality. Next slide. We all got to explore our options, I mean, you don't know what you're into yet. You're new, baby, little doms and subs, and we don't know what we want. Maybe I don't like being spanked that hard. That's where a safe word comes in. They're so important. I feel like these kids today don't even care about safe words. They're like, it's all good. It's all good, Ms. Glover. And I'm like, no, it's not all good. You guys, safe words, oh, you're so precious. But what happens is, they tell me I'm old as creation, and I tell them about the time I got syphilis. And the reason I got syphilis was because I said apatosaurus, but my safe word was brontosaurus. And that's a mistake anyone can make. Next slide. Your safe word is your personal brand. It's what you bring to the table. I mean, make sure it's something that represents you. My current safe word is banana pants. And now I know what you're thinking. It's not even a real word, but that's the joy of it. It's made up. I'm silly. I'm spontaneous. I'm crazy. Banana pants, right? That's my safe word. So you want to make sure it represents you, but not so much that you would say it during sex. Next slide. We all know what makes a thing good, right? Like, it's objectively easy to look at something and say, well, that's good versus bad, because society gives us messages. Society tells you, be thin, be rich, smoke cigarettes, be beautiful. But society also tells you, don't worry about it. Get tied up and put a ball gag in there and stuff it up your butt, and you don't have to worry about what could go wrong. Live on the edge. But sometimes we can't listen to society, right, ladies? Right, minorities? We can't listen to society. It's not always on our side. So safe words come into play there. Next slide. I just wanted to take a moment to really talk about something that's been affecting our community, and I know it's not really on topic, but sex drones. And we all remember Ralph, R.I.P. Ralph. But it's important to know that you can set your safe word to be a password to your sex drone. I don't know if you guys know that. It's one of those, you can link it if you have a Bluetooth device playing in the room, even just a computer with a webcam on. I mean, come on, you have your webcam on. But you want to make sure you just say it. The sex drone can stop. Safe words can protect us even from the robots. It's great. Next slide. I want to talk about the importance of keeping your pets away from your dungeon. And the reason is housekeeping is important. And you may not think of your dungeon as part of your house, but it is. It's your own little sex house. And inside it is your domestic relationship. Pets have no place. I mean, unless that's what you're into. We don't have any judgments in Molly's dungeon. But I will say that you can find really creative ways to use things that you never thought would come into your dungeon. It doesn't have to be pets, but like the other day I kept my floors super clean because I used one of those Swiffer wets. And I was amazed at how it just mopped up all the stuff, And the best part was it didn't even occur to me that I could use it on my body until I did. It was great. So just keep everything clean, your dungeon, yourself, it's good. Next slide. When it comes to safe words, there's some things that just aren't funny. And I'll tell you what one of them is, and it's the patriarchy. Because patriarchy is a lot harder to say around a ball gag than you'd think. And the worst part is, I mean, if you're into men like I am, they don't listen when you claim patriarchy. Next slide. We want to make sure we're going above and beyond. We're taking it to the next level. Our safe words should be something that go beyond sex, that go beyond safety, that just really make it happen. So just see what you want and go for it. Don't be ashamed of who's looking. Don't worry if your safe word makes you sound silly. You know, just be above and beyond. Next slide. In summary, I just want you all to know that this has been a really good experience for me. Okay, so my mother died because she didn't have a safe word, and I know. She was skydiving, and they kept saying, pull the cord, and that had been her ex-lover's safe word, so she was like, I'm not doing anything, and then she died. And if she had had her own safe word, she could have then said that, and maybe at least she would have died safely. I mean, I'm not really sure how that follows, but that's what my psychotherapist says when I'm under hypnosis. I really just want you all to know that you can shout out your safe word at any time. I want to hear it. Everyone, shout out your safe word. Banana pants, shout it out, come on. Yes, good. We're all safe here. We're all safe. Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic talk, Molly. I learned a lot. I really did. Yeah, so judges, what do you have to say about Molly's talk?
Are we going to address the conflict of interest in the room?
Oh, no.
Because I do have to say, I'm a fan of Molly's work, so I might be biased.
Banana pants. It's too real.
That's my safe word. Too real. Too real. Two words, actually.
I think it's, you know, if your sex dungeon isn't your own little sex house, I think it's your own little sex room. Your own little sex house is more like a sex cottage or a sex cabin or maybe even like a sex yurt. But I understood what you were saying. It didn't get in the way of the message.
Maybe I meant a sex home.
A sex home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Place where you can raise children. And you know, I was told, and maybe I misunderstood, that there'd be some talk of accessibility and safe words in this presentation. So I was looking for maybe like ASL safe words or something along those lines. Maybe some jive safe words. Just like safe words throughout history, maybe. Oh. And I think that another reason that patriarchy is a bad safe word is because shouting patriarchy has never stopped anything.
I'm not surprised you understand.
Yeah. I'm a part of the problem.
All right, well, that's Molly. Let's hear from Molly Glover, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Now we are going to bring all of our presenters up as our judges evaluate their scores and determine who tonight's winner is. They're going to do a team round. I'm going to remind everybody we've got a match going on right now. It's a $500 match. We announced it late, so we are going to be able to let that go through Vilification Tennis, which is the next show that is up. But I think we want to do something really appropriate for our team presentation this evening. So it is why you should give your money to Fearless Comedy. Why you should give your money to Fearless Comedy. Duck, why don't you take first slide? Here you go.
All right, so you're here at Fearless Comedy's Die-Laughing 50 hours of comedy, and that's a really fantastic thing, and let me tell you why. First slide, please. All right, so there are a lot of people who are involved in Fearless Comedy, and there are varying levels of expertise. But if you give us money, we can afford to hire people to train us to do better. So put your money in, make those donations so that we can get some training so that I don't come up here and ramble about race to you again next year. Next slide.
Feelings. Nothing more than feelings. Now, if that's the kind of obvious humor you want to see stamped out, then please donate to Fearless Comedy. Thank you.
So, true story. I donated money to Fearless Comedy Productions, and the next day, I found out that I was the proud owner of not one, not two, but 3 cactus. And not only that, but then like the next day I went out and I caucused. And I was like, this newfound power is amazing. Where did this come from? And I turned to the teenager who was running the caucus at the high school, and she was like, I don't know anything. Everyone's asking me questions. But then I asked another guy, and he said, did you donate to Fearless Comedy Productions? And I said, I did. And he said, that's why. When you donate to Fearless Comedy Productions, you get stuff like cactuses. Next slide.
Yeah, it's totally true. Now, what we really need at Fearless Comedy Productions is education on how to do makeup for stage. Because after 50 hours of doing this, we all look like this. Our mascara's running, we feel like crap, and oh my God, we just want to go to bed. So if you just gave us money in like the first 10 hours, we wouldn't have to be up for 50. So please, give us money, save us, save yourselves. Next slide.
All right, so one thing that you need to think about, one thing that you really, really need to think about is the infrastructure problems that come with having a newly founded company. I mean, we're 3 years old now, but that's a blink in the lifetime of a true artisan. So we need to make sure that we're building on the infrastructure of the things that we're doing. And if we can invest money into all the different aspects of our company, we can build a new theater space. We can do the training that I was talking about before. We can do more and more productions, which makes the community better, makes everybody happier because we're funny and we're bringing laughter and love into their life, and then we can actually afford good plumbing in the bathroom.
Let me tell you, it is rank up here. Okay, you heard the news, and yeah, we have been funneling all of your donations through Panama. But we have a really good reason for it. We didn't want to pay taxes on it. So what we did was we created, let's call it a company. Not exactly that, but it's the best way to think about it. And what this company does is it provides a service called being a pickup artist. And one of the things we teach you how to do is how to slide into someone's DMs. Now, how does that fit with the mission statement that you gave us money for? Well, Molly's going to explain that.
Yeah, yep. We have a really great 5-year plan. That's what we're going to do with your money. So first off, hopscotch. That's when we jump all around, make all the shows happen, and no one understands how we do it because it seems like we shouldn't be able to do that with just 2 feet, but we do. We do. Also, there's scotch. Then the next year is hoppy-scotch. Now, that sounds more complicated, and you're right, it is, because now we've got rabbits. We're putting on Watership Down. But instead of rabbits, we're all just going to be drunk and wearing bunny ears because we're fearless. And so then after that, Scotchy Hops. Now, Scotchy Hops is when you take scotch and beer and you mix them together in a blender and you make Matt drink it for $25 a pop. Which, if that's not a challenge, that really should be. And then finally, profit. I mean, but not profit because it's a non-profit. So like any profit gets turned into the what's the opposite of profit? Theater. Yeah. So we do theater. Yes. Next slide.
Yeah, totes true, Molly. Thank you so much. So, basically, when you give us money at Fearless Comedy Productions, you're not getting a big, like you think you're getting. You're getting a with 2 hands. Actually, as a matter of fact, you're getting it with 4 hands. 6, many hands. Because that's what every dollar does at Fearless Comedy Productions. It multiplies it into multiple middle fingers, which is just what you want on a Saturday night.
All right. So, I don't know if you know this, but Fearless is a 501c3 company, which means if you give us $501, you get to see 3 different things. You get to see narcotics, you get to see leftover Easter candy, and when you put those things together, you get to see Jesus.
We've all learned a lot here tonight, and I think what I've primarily learned is that when I have to follow women and black guys, my power is greatly reduced. And if that's the kind of thing you want to see your money going to support, donate to Die Laughing Marathon right now. Molly, take it away.
All right. You know, we have a lot of bosses in our lives, right? We got a lot of people telling us what to do, what to believe. But we're not like that. We're fearless. Yeah, we don't take no for an answer. And especially from you, when you say, no, I won't donate, we say, nuh-uh. Yeah, you will. Yeah, you will. Because you want to live the boss life. We're rolling hard. We're rolling hard on this stage 50 hours. We roll hard into the BLB, to the Phoenix, into other theaters that I can't remember because I'm tired. And I'll tell you, it's a good life. And also, sometimes our grandmas come to shows and they're really sweet. And then we try not to curse so much. Next slide.
If only that grandma wasn't dead. But in summary, when I think about my dead grandma, I think about how proud she would be. I think about how she'd show up in her crazy-ass dyed hair because it was crazy-ass dyed when I was 8. And I think about her cute little red nose. And I think about how proud she would be of us at Fearless Comedy Productions, breaking out of the norm, making something new, making something real. And she'd be like, here's all my money, my darling. Enjoy it and be amazing. Honk, honk.
Well, those are just some of the many reasons to donate to Fearless Comedy Productions. While you guys were in that presentation, we got a $250 donation. Holy, so that's pretty spectacular.
We don't have to take our clothes off?
I didn't say that, but really at this point we are at the end. No. Later, right now, our judges, because the thing is, you guys are great, you're all winners, but in a more realistic sense, only one of you is a winner. And our two fabulous Caucasian judges are going to tell.
It was very close. Though,
very close.
I mean, judges always say that.
Well,
Nobody would ever be like, it was a total blowout. The second person should feel bad.
There were 2 people within a point of the winner. So I mean, it was close.
Very close.
It was very close.
It was very close.
The other person was just a few less. So it was.
The other person was like a point behind that too.
Yeah.
It was all very. It was
super close.
It was a cluster. I don't want to say
Close.
clusterfuck. It was a
Super
cluster.
close.
Yeah.
You know what it was? It was really close.
Yeah, it was close.
That's great, but there was a
I
winner, was there
understand how
not?
close it was. It was like
Okay.
a black hole.
You know how close those like 8 razor blades tell you their shaves are? Closer.
This is closer
Closer
than that.
But without cutting, without bleeding.
Right.
Because those 8 razor blades, there's 8 razors, and they could just slice you up like a motherfucker.
But they don't. They just cut close.
They just click.
Yep. That's how close
It's
they
kind
are.
of it's kind of cool when you think
If
about
they
it.
cut you, it wouldn't be close anymore.
Scientifically, you would think the more razor blades you have on your neck, the better chance you have of just cutting your throat. But
Just gets
that's
closer
not what
and
happens.
closer.
It just cuts the whiskers better.
Do you guys need some slides going on behind you while you're doing this?
It appears not. Judges, who is our winner?
Duck Washington.
Duck Washington. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for our winner. Let's hear it for all of our presenters. Once again, PowerPoint Karaoke is presented by Fearless Comedy Productions every month at the Fantasy Flight Game Center. Our next show is on May 13th. That is Friday the 13th. It is the luckiest day of the year because you can watch more PowerPoint Karaoke. Back to our host, Andy Wilkins. Thank you very much.